This next one, however, there is nothing to it that I can say other than it is completely evil. It is a vile thing. And I am using my words very, very carefully. I hate this. And that is the karmic contract bypass. Whatever has happened to you is a karmic contract. Apparently, in this school of thought, all the experiences in your life before you are born, you have one big board meeting with all the people who will who will be, and okay, so you can, and I will, and so I'm saying, acha, what does that mean? It means that you sit with somebody and say, right, when I'm 3 years old, you have permission to rape me. The sheer absurdity of the position is very clear. Yeah, or what Mao did in China, in 1958, 45 million people died because of his experiments in agriculture. 45 million people made a contract with Mao that you can starve us to death. The great leap forward. Much worse than Hitler, or Pol Pot killed 50% of his own Cambodians. They were a population of 4 million, 2 million died in the war. After the war, 1 million died because Pol Pot ordered everybody one fine day, abandon the cities. Cities are degenerate places. All of you will now live in the villages. 1 million people died in that. You mean to tell me they made an agreement with him that, so this, as yogis, we should not get into this, and this is a complete useless understanding of karma, because the vasana samaskaras determine your birth. There is no such thing as a board meeting and a karmic contract, and the minute I hear that, I just zone that person out, because they obviously can't find their ass in the dark. It's awful. It's just bloody appalling. This one thing is just appalling, and it comes from this misunderstanding of karma. It comes from this misunderstanding, and it comes from this whole business of Akashic records, where you can go and find out what happened. And yes, there is a large part of the people we meet, Rinanubandhan is there, the debt bond is there, that because certain things happened, they are now allowed to retaliate, or you are allowed to retaliate. Yes, to that extent it is true. But to say that everything is already in, then we are going back to that. We are going back to that you are accountable thing. No? This is the worst form of you are accountable bypass. And yogis know that you are not the only persons who could have been born to your parents. 20, 30 people had the same kind of asana samaskaras as you did. You just managed to jostle your way to the top of the queue and be born. If you had missed that chance, somebody else could have born in your place and be living your life. Okay, now that's complex. Yes, it is complex. This is awful. This is just something that, so anytime you hear people talk karmic contract, please shut them down. It's a terrible idea. I think it's a diabolical idea. Only some kind of asura must have put it out there. It's a genuinely diabolical sort of idea. Or it's insanity. Mad people have come up with this idea. People who are clinically insane have come up with this idea. And the last one, this is going to be the most difficult, because we have all these cultural issues around it. Compulsory forgiveness bypass. No matter what happens, you should be compassionate. No matter what happens, you should forgive people for what has happened. Yeah, because if you do not forgive, you cannot progress. Who told you? Whenever I ask people that, who said you can't progress? Huh? The really bad thing is, people are pushed in communities, in spiritual communities, in groups, into forgiving things that they are not ready to forgive. And more damage is caused because of this fake forgiveness. Sometimes people are damaged very severely by their parents, for instance. Now, even saying that in India causes anxiety, because the whole notion is that, the father is Shiva, the mother is Parvati. That is the default setting. All parents believe it, and they keep nailing it into their child's head, and then they teach something else to the children, that whatever happens in the home should never be articulated outside. So for years and years there is pattern of abuse going on, and the child has been conditioned into believing, I will be violating social norms, I will be violating spiritual norms, I will be just a bad person. And more than I can articulate, I have seen this happen, that when somebody finally reaches out for help because they are being tortured, what they are told is that this is the wrong thing that you're doing. You're criticizing your parents. That is not a good thing to do. After all, they are your parents. After all, they are your mother. They are just flat out denial. I myself suffered it, not that I reached out for help, because I knew none would be coming. But I never had any delusions about the goodness of parents, for that one reason. And that has made me a very, very strange and unusual person in India, because it takes a long time for people to wake up and realize that our parents were quite fallible human beings who were maybe doing the best they could. But from a very early age, I knew that parents are actually a big con job. Because the way it comes across in the culture, you're not allowed to criticize under any circumstance, no matter what is done. And which is why when there is rape and torture, the family runs to cover it up, because the social norm is so great that it cannot under any circumstance be revealed. Honor, izzat, man samman, all those garbage. But spirituality, it becomes a deeper problem, because especially the bhakti type people, oh, one must forgive. Maybe you're not ready to forgive, and you must accept, because the whole point of yoga is to be authentic, not to be holy. And if you are angry at that moment, you accept, I am still angry with what happened. I am not ready to forgive. I am not going to retaliate. That is a very different matter, because in most cases the fear is, if the person won't forgive, he or she will retaliate. But as I keep saying, there is a reason why we like revenge, because revenge is about justice. It comes down to the whole thing of evil. Evil is always about a difference in power. If somebody feels that there will be severe and drastic consequences to me by my action, you don't do something bad to another person. It is only when you feel that there will be no consequence, I can get away with it, I have the power over that person, that you do that evil thing. Evil is always about power. Which is why revenge is so popular. The revenge movie will never go out of fashion for precisely this reason, because deep in our hearts, no matter how compassionate and forgiving, we know that is justice. We know that somebody had a position of power, somebody thought that I would not be hurt, so I can hurt, and now he is learning that the universe has a way of. So deep in our hearts we know that. Now this fear that the person will turn violent is why, because some people, their violence is very justified. The kind of upbringings they've had, the kind of things that they have suffered, their violence is very justified. But given what happened in that Delhi bus incident, for instance, who here is willing to forgive those people? I am not. Because that is not a case where the person was caught in the passion of the moment or insanity or something. It's just cold-blooded viciousness. And just because I wear malas, I am not going to pretend that I cannot recognize evil when I see it. And this pushing people, if you don't forgive, you will never heal, you will get cancer, you will get ulcers, all those are also wrong. Anger is actually very helpful. People get to do a lot of things because they are angry. I remember once when girl bought her boyfriend, he was very angry with her parents because they were opposing their marriage. And he was in a furious rage because the father had really humiliated him very badly. So he was, I'm going to get some acid and throw it on his face. I said, yeah, do it. Huh? I said, if you're willing to go to jail, you're willing to destroy your entire life, do it. If he has hurt you that much, nothing I say is going to make you feel better, do it. He just didn't know what to do. It's like he put a steps up. And because he had come with a whole series of arguments as to how awful that girl's dad is, and I'm agreeing with him. Yeah, he's an awful man. I'm only telling you your life is screwed. So if you're okay with that, do it. I said, you don't want to throw acid. You are feeling that how you burnt, you want him to burn. You are burning with the shame and the humiliation. That's all you can think. He should burn in that same way. Now he really didn't know. He was just... I told him, the minute you get a good job, all these so-called objections will magically evaporate, or the minute your business starts doing well, it magically evaporates, because there is one universal treatment for all parental objections in India, that is called money. If you have enough of it, like water vapor from a hot rock, objections evaporate, so don't... So he was like, he actually asked that girl, what kind of spiritual guy is that? Yeah, ऐसी बातें करता है. She said, काम हुआ है कि नहीं? Did he set you right on track or not? That is all that matters. But what a thing to say. He came with a set of expectations. He came with a set of expectations that I will lecture him on forgiveness and compassion, and after all, your girl's father, and I had none of that. So he just didn't know what to do, because there is no pre-prepared script to interact. Now, ab kya kare? So yeah, that was one of the funny... Supriya.